you think you can do. Okay, just in time. Okay. But you know, with time you adjust to the reality. So sometimes it's, for example, not possible to do the meeting every week because everyone is busy with other tasks at the university. But with time you will establish some kind of schedule for your meetings, for updates, and you have to find some ways to communicate. It depends on what you prefer, but you either some like chats or any other types of group conversations that you use between the leaders and then within each section. And it's important to be to keep up with everything, especially if you are a leader of the section or of the entire committee. Of course, you have to keep up with all the tasks, and that's what we try. And then your private messenger looks like this. I just did this test yesterday. I put the name of the conference one and the second, and it's like that.
And how often meet, like,
Memories. I mean, for me, it's difficult to say because most of my conferences were organized in COVID times. So usually all the bigger meetings were just on Zoom. And I remember we tried to meet, I don't know, every at the beginning, of course, like 2 or 3 weeks, and then we post on the chats within the sections. But like the closer it gets to the conference, the more often the meetings have to happen.
And I think one very important question is when to start organizing those meetings.
Yeah. So
of course it depends, but how it was in your case?
I think I even have a slide on this, and maybe it's the next slide, so you can check.
Let me check. No.
No, the next one.
But yeah, there is one, I think.
Oh, yeah. So this is what Magda asked about. It's best to start as soon as possible. As soon as you have the idea, just do the first things, like talk to the Professor Smiatacz, set the date. That's very important because it may interact with other conferences or events. So it's good to hear from other circles, from other organizations when they plan, especially the biggest conferences. So you will not have it on the same weekend, because then, of course, your participants will be divided between events, and it's much more difficult to get the participants and the audience.
And the biggest conferences are planned like 1 year in advance. So
as maybe I can add something. So, well, there is this calendar that we are trying to handle. So it's good to check if the data that you're choosing for your conference isn't like doing some other conference. So,
and do you include all conferences from all over the
Poland? Yeah. Well, we try. At
Not
least
only
we try.
Maybe
there is not like all of them, but yeah, there were some attempts to collect as many as possible in one place. And this
reserve the halls for the conference because it may also get problematic later. And we are not on the
sorry.
Maybe it's not time to mention that, but remember that you do not pay for the room for your conference or for the auditorium. Is it
Conference hall?
Conference hall. You don't pay for that, but you pay
Lecture
for technical support. I will mention that later.
Yeah, and sometimes from my experience, we somehow managed not to pay, but I don't remember. But when the conference was for
that
free.
was a trick I developed. What once?
It's easier when your conference is free for everyone, then the university is more like, okay, we will help. Because when you get the fee from the participants, then it's more difficult to get the help.
Okay.
Yeah, but in general, as you say, you have to pay, and on the weekends, I think also you have to pay more.
Yeah.
Because
and it costs.
Okay, and I think the last thing I wanted to say is about the leaders of the scientific sessions, and they are usually under the team of logistics. So these are people who are responsible for the organization of each scientific session from the beginning to the end. And this is a very responsible position, and maybe on the graph they are like the lowest in the vertical hierarchy, let's say, but they have lots of work. as you can see on the slide, so I think it's okay, I didn't want to say it like that.
It's on the internet now, sorry.
It's all recorded.
You're carrying? It's done.
But
Cancelled.
it's important to choose the people quite early and to explain what they will have to do, because it's a lot. So it's not only leading the session on the event, but also being in touch with the participants, with the jury, then making sure you have all of the presentations, answering all of the questions, issues, and everything. So for me, this is one of the important aspects of the organizations. Think about these positions. For me, about the first technical aspects, it's all for the beginning.
Maybe I'll just add one thing. I don't know if it was mentioned directly, but when you want to start early, just think it through so that you don't plan everything ahead and then have a big amount of spare time before you have to actually do some of the actual work. For example, the patronages or the patrons or sponsorships or the lecture halls or anything else that you want to do. Just if you divide the.
It's called procrastination.
No, it was not the. Just don't plan too fast ahead too early, because or just if you do just divide the work evenly, because if you leave too much of a spare period of time in the middle, people will lose interest and just forget they were in the committee. There are a lot of people who just are like, oh yeah, there was something about that, but I've just found 3 other things to do in the meantime, so I'm not really into that anymore. So that's just a practical tip, to find something for your colleagues to do when you're organizing a conference. So in the middle of hello. Yeah, thank you. No, it's upside up there. Yeah. Thank you.
Nie mówię po polsku, przepraszam.
No. Wow. Yeah, so just find something to do in the meantime so that there is a continuity of tasks to do. That's just maybe a practical tip. Then there's time for you or me. Yeah, so I want to talk about the back there. Patronages. So the patronages are maybe non-financially related connections to some institutions or personas within or outside of the university that provide you with a sort of not only support, but it provides the conference with some kind of prestige, let's say, so that it looks more legit. Let's just say it out front. Yeah, so there are different ones, as I said, within the university. So you have the patronages of the rector, of course, but I meant like what? Authorities, yeah. So just it's not only about any authorities within the university, or any student organizations as well. For example, STN can also give their patronage to any conference. The city's patronage, or the president of Gdańsk's patronage, the University Clinical Center, or any scientific societies like the national scientific societies from different branches of medicine, or for example pharmacy, nursing, anything else that you are interested in doing a conference about. They have different you sometimes have to do different things to get a patronage, because for example within GUMET it's quite simple. You just deliver a pre-written form where you just put a few lines of text and send it to the rector's office. When it comes to the patronage of the Presidency of Gdańsk. It's a little more complicated. You have to deliver it in person to the city hall, and it takes 30 days to receive a decision. So that's another important thing, because some patronages take time to obtain. Most of them are pretty simple to get. It requires just an email to the board of the scientific society of some sort. For example, cardiology, you just send the email to a certain secretary, whose email is on the website, and within a few days, a few weeks, you get the reply. And
Here you have to write, like, describe in detail your
Yeah.
event.
yeah, and it's actually worth just having a pre-written note about your event, which you can use for patronages of any kind, to send it also to the media after you get the patronage. Send it to the university's website or anywhere else. And of course, we not only have like scientific patronages, we also have media patronages, which help us spread the event throughout the internet or on the radio, anywhere else. And about promoting the event, that's Magda's topic, so I'll just mention it briefly. And of course, you can use radios, TVs, medical websites such as MedTube or Medycyna Praktyczna, for example. And what is also important is to remember that some companies or some media sites or some societies want to have their exclusive patronage. For example,
We have one fun history from like 3 years or 4
Yeah.
years ago from the palliative conference. We organized it for the first time, and we didn't know too much about organizing conferences. And one of the journal, like a Polish journal of palliative medicine or something like that, they offered us like exclusive partnership. So we could not work with any other company like releasing books or journals. And they were like, okay, you will have the patronage, like the full patronage for the conference. And then they gave us like 10 journals, like 10 old journals, and that was it. We didn't have anything.
And no financial support.
No.
It was not like the abstracts are published in a supplement.
So yeah, they offer something like that, but this was like a journal without any impact factor, no anything. So it was not very attractive for the participants. And we had a very big problem because they promised that they will help, and then like 1 week or 2 weeks before the conference, they were like, we are not helping because we don't have funds.
note to
It's
self.
important to set the terms and conditions of the patronage like beforehand, like.
I think that was the mistake. I was not directly involved in this, but I assume probably it didn't have the terms, like the agreement.
Yeah.
In a signed form, so maybe it's a good tip to always have everything written on paper when you agree on something like this.
Yeah, and maybe if I can add, it's also nice to maybe prepare, because we started to do this year, like a sponsorship booklet kind of a thing. Oh,
Continue.
oh, no, it's fine, like, no, because.
I'm not going to talk about
Funding, yeah.
funding, yeah, but this.
Yeah, but it's like even for patronages, the same thing can be used, because you have your specific
What can offer,
terms
yeah.
that we will only offer any sort of public, how do you say, if you want any speaker to come over from your Polish society, that they can come, or we can only do any, how do you say, social media coverage of their institution. So it's nice to even just prepare like a same template and just send it out all together. So it's really nice, because we tried doing this, and I think it was pretty nice, because then we don't have to worry too much about the terms and conditions of being like, oh, it doesn't have to be very subjective to every patronage that we're getting.
Yeah, and you won't forget about anything.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
everything's one place, more like offer or leaflet.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yes, and it's also kind of like the same thing when, as I mentioned about the note, because there you, explaining the booklet more broadly, you have a note about the conference, how many people are most often getting there and participating in the conference. Is it online? Is it in place? Where does it take place? When it's gonna be? How many days it's gonna be? Is it mostly directed to students or to doctors or whom? The topics, for example, ISSC is a more broad conference, so it's harder to describe, but most conferences are kind of specific, like dermatology, cardiology, palliative medicine, oncology, anything like that. So then you can also direct the leaflet or the booklet more towards your potential patrons. So it seems more appealing to them. The topics are more covering their type of
It would look like, it would look more professional and personalized.
Yeah.
exactly.
And even like for ISSC, I know it's like a very broad topic, but then it's always nice to mention that the session that we're hosting is like, oh, among the 20 different sessions that we have this particular session, which, you know, it aligns with your interest of your institution. And that is the reason we're asking for the patronage. So it's, you can add these clause, like subjective clause to specific patronages that you want to apply for.
Just within the email, even
Yeah.
that's already
Works.
helping. Yes, anything else I wanted to add? I don't think so. Any questions at this point?
Yeah, feel free to ask questions, to interrupt.
Obviously, the online participants are also free to ask questions.
Everything was very clear.
Or you can send your questions in the chat as well in case somebody.
There's a queue.
There might be some.
No,
It's an old
that's-
one. It's an old one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just summing up everything that we know so far, start early, develop the plan early, divide the work
Mhm.
early, keep it stable throughout the months. And once you have all the necessary details, start preparing your booklet and start writing down anybody who you want to invite for a partnership or funding, as we're soon gonna know.
This is a take-home message from Mikołaj, but we are not finishing yet.
No, I'm just summing up throughout so it's clear.
Halfway milestone.
Yeah.
Good.
And now after this,
Now, it's, I believe, one of the most important parts.
Yes.
It's about fundings, and the bigger event you're planning to organize, the more money you will need. Maybe I will start with expenses. Mikołaj, could you?
Could you?
What you should take into consideration is technical support expense, which you can avoid somehow. I don't know yet how, but Gosia will provide us with this information.
it's private info, just text us.
DM. Of course, if you're planning a conference which gonna last like few hours at least, you have to plan coffee break or even lunch break, and it of course costs. And then you would like to probably prepare some welcome bags for the people who will join the conference. Sometimes you will have to pay for conducting lectures. I don't know. Did you invite anyone who you should pay? No.
Well,
I also
lectures.
didn't do it that way, but I know that during international conference, if people invite people from all over the world, they have to pay for not only for the lecture but also for hotel and
Stay.
it costs a lot. So this, I think that we do not have a lot of money.
Period.
We are
Plus
limited, and usually we just ask for lectures. But if you have an idea to invite well-known worldwide lecturer, then you have to be aware that it may cost a lot. And after party is also more additional. If you have money for that, a kind of expense, it's fine, but usually
Necessary.
it is necessary.
Yeah.
It is, I believe it is, but sometimes we are very limited.
Social events.
Yeah, okay, so the next question is how to get some financial support, and there are some people you should definitely contact. Of course, you can always count on Student Scientific Society, no?
Yes. Yes.
Students Council as well. It is a good idea to get some external financial support. So it's good to contact some pharmaceutical representatives. There are so many of those who visit our hospital, and you should ask your doctors who you are collaborating with, and they probably have some contacts they can share with you. But the problem with pharmaceutical representatives is that they have to know in advance, because they sometimes plan their budgets at the beginning of year. So it's like now you're late if you want to ask them for money, or if the last call, but you can try. What else? Sometimes they are asking for I forgot how it do you know there is this I don't even remember in Polish. It's like some not student but conferences which are conducted by doctors, or like conferences for doctors. They have some kind of accreditation, and some pharmaceutical companies are asking for that, and it's not really, it takes a lot time to apply for that. It takes like even half a year, so it's sometimes this is why we are asking you guys for money, because external financial is really hard to possess, and you have to apply for that in advance. But once you get that kind of collaboration, you can continue that throughout the next years. What else? There are so many companies, maybe not so many, but there are companies and publishing houses who really want to collaborate with you and to support your conference. And I believe it was this ISSC when you guys had a collaboration with Elsevier, right? They were a sponsor for.
It was not Elsevier, it was Serbia, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also mistaken the mistook the name at the beginning, but
yeah. Like a company sponsored awards for students, and hopefully we will have their support this year as well, the next year as well. But if we could skip to the not the next one, but
this one.
Yeah. But the easiest collaboration is the one when a company gives you something and you have to promote them during the conference. Like it's really easy to ask for barter, and it's really difficult to get money from companies.
From my experience, it was very difficult when we were getting like the money from the company, and then to get it through the university accounts and everything.
Oh yeah, that's also maybe a problem.
That was very difficult, and maybe it was 2 years ago. Maybe we didn't know how to do it well, but
I also heard from my friend who is working in Bumet that she was also struggling with that. But I believe now they know how to help us. So yeah, if you have any financial support, then there are people who can help you with those, with that. So here are some companies which we collaborated with. When I was organizing Shameless Gdańsk, for me it was really important to have a gluten-free coffee break because I'm on a gluten-free diet. So this is why I was collaborating with those companies. But we had like really healthy and tasty coffee break. And it was founded by those companies. I mean, it was not founded, but we received so many food that even it was too much for the coffee break. So we took it home. And a lot of companies will provide you with some samples or promo codes, so you can give it to welcome bags. It's always really nice.
Sorry, photo break.
300 kilos of day up your really 300 kilos.
We got like
We received like, I don't know, 50 breads. I had to freeze them after the
Dinner for whole year.
it was a personal plan at first.
Yeah,
actually.
that was my plan. But you know, if you have your own idea, then you are more than free to to do it your way. Gluten-free, like in my case.
Yeah.
But it's easier. What you have to do if you have this barter collaboration, you have to talk about terms, and some companies would ask you to show their commercials during the coffee breaks, or publish some information on your event. Okay. What else? There are also some contests. It's some kind of contest. Recently, this one with Kutek MD was conducted, and here you can see my friend who received the grant. Sorry, guys, I know you didn't get that, but there were people who actually did it. So they have fundings for their conference, and sorry. But I really believe that we will find funding somehow for our.
Yeah, we will have a talk after. Don't worry.
No more workshops with me.
No. But this one thing I wanted to also say, even though if your conference is in English, and even if like a lot of, I have seen the ED students are starting to organize conferences, it's really, really, really important to have somebody who is Polish speaking on the financing team. That is one of the basic things, because if you have to deal with the external affairs and even with the authorities, you need to know Polish. So this is something like from
So you need us.
we have a very Polish speaking financing team working. So
If there are anyone who would like to support us in this financial
Or support us financially.
financially, we're collecting donations now.
But yeah, to summarize, it's really good to search for that kind of opportunities, and it's really nice if you want that kind of grants. Okay, let's move on, because
Yeah, just maybe if I
if you
can.
have any questions, then we will answer them at the end.
Okay. Just maybe one word, if I can.
Yeah.
This hesitation, yeah, okay. When you have a company that actually wants to give you money, contact the financial office at the rector's building as soon as you can, because the people who will have to transfer the money from the company to the university's account have to just start working as fast as you can, because there's all kinds of things that can go wrong. So just if you even have a sign that they will give you money, just maybe contact them, not only about the fact that they want to give you money, maybe they have already sample no, not this one, umowa.
Contract?
Yeah, contract, a financial contract prepared, so that you can send it to the company so they can edit it to their likings, and it will go a lot faster that way.
Do we need to create any account, like separate account, or?
Sometimes yes, but if you work, for example, under a scientific society or yes, or under the scientific circle who has already organized the conference some time ago, maybe there is an account, a sub account at the universities, under the university's account that's already there. So that's a lot easier like that. And also when you already have the partnership with some kind of company or some kind of society, just write down every demand of every partner of yours that you have to fulfill by the end of the conference so that you don't miss it. And for example, don't forget to record that you have done something, because it's always nice to send your partner an email or anything that you have done everything that they wanted. For example, when they wanted you to broadcast an advertisement, or they wanted you to put them in the slides or something like that, just have it all in one folder and then send it to them at the end, like, thank you, here is everything that you wanted us to do. We hope for a good cooperation next year, and that also increases the chances of a long-lasting partnership. And I think that's that. Oh, and scientific societies also sometimes have money to give to the student conferences if the topics align, let's say. So, for example, cardiology, Polish Society of Cardiology sometimes supports the cardiology conference.
Or what about Okręgowa Izba Lekarska?
They give if they give money, they give very little money, but sometimes it happens. So it's always worth trying. A few years ago, it was about 500 zlotys. But
They raised the monthly fee by 100%, so.
Or 600% for interns. So yeah, but well, worth trying. Yeah, always worth trying, and their patronage is also nice. Yes. So.
Okay, that is my part. So I'm gonna try to make it quick and as practical as possible. First thing, when you think about organizing all of those parts like lectures, think about the competition times when participants present something. The first thing to make your work effortless, plan everything ahead and write it down and make it as clear and as visible as possible, starting with the deadlines for everything, for the submission of the abstracts, then for the presentation deadlines, then for the time when you will be contacting them, getting their feedback, stuff like that. Then create point out the preferred way of communicating with you, like email. I remember it was upsetting to me, but I was always during the first training that sometimes the participants were asking, because they knew other members of the organizing committee, messaging them on Facebook, on Instagram, everything, and they were wondering why they didn't get any reply. And the answer was simple. I was responsible for the submissions, contacting the marketing, sending the emails, newsletters, and content for all the participants and those that wanted to present their work. And I was abroad, I was doing my Erasmus. I actually arrived like 6 hours before the conference. So the only thing I was checking all the time the email, because I had it like with push-up notifications. So that was the issue. So point it out so that in case anything goes wrong for some participant and they want to complain about something, make sure that you're covered on that. So that's the third thing. Then regarding the competition and the judgment and evaluation of the work, we have, I wouldn't say an issue, but in shame lessons, it was not like a clear single specialty conference. It was like interdisciplinary, and then sometimes very often separated for traditional medicine, and the thing that members of the committee and the jury were sometimes not as familiar with. And since we were interdisciplinary, sometimes the topics were not, I would say, not that easy to judge. So what we did for the participants to feel I would say, fairly evaluated, we designed some blinding protocol. We basically set rules on how each aspect of the work would be graded, and the members of the jury actually did not know how the evaluation went. It was basically done to prevent something like that, that someone presented a nice, because the people often judge something by the visual aspects and the form of presentations. And sometimes people award the presentations only by this aspect and not by this scientific value or merit. So we basically created an algorithm to grade work on the usage of language, the way of presenting the scientific principles, the methodology. So we could have someone who impressed our jury, got a very high score on the visual aspects, on the presentation aspects, but then since the algorithm was designed to value specifically the scientific aspect and the meritoric aspect, and the people were actually getting a very low grade because they created a nice work, but the entire statistics was wrong. So the entire, truth to be told, the conclusions that they were presenting were unsupported by any evidence, because they didn't do any statistical text. And even in one conference, one of our jury was, I would say, very harsh on our participants. And yeah, well,
That's an every.
which I love, to be honest, but I didn't have to say anything after that. So that's the third thing. Then second, prepare for your work to do it as easy for you as possible. So when you think about the entire process of submitting the papers, changing even the formatting for the abstract book, etc., make it automatic. Make the sign-up process easy. So find some ready web pages or apps for the admission and registration process, so that you don't have to manually send emails. Find some tool where people can sign up for the conference, and then you can just even schedule some emails, some newsletters for them to be sent automatically through that app. At our first conference, we used the Eventbrite page, and it was great that not only it was easy for people to, well, we didn't start like that. It was not that easy. At first we were using some other tools, and then I manually added 150 participants, and then the rest was signing using the new page. It was that helpful that in the end, when people were checking in for their welcome bags and stuff like that, the only thing, we didn't have any printed list. It was all in the cloud, and we had members of the committee and some volunteers basically checking the QR codes that they got on their emails. It was that easier for us. And then we also had better statistics, who actually came from which university and stuff like that. It was all presented right away. We didn't have to do any analysis, because there are tools online ready for events like that. And all you do, you put some ask about information that you may need later on. So that's the first thing. The second, be aware of the thing called optimism bias, which is you always, whatever you do, you always think that something will go right with deadlines, with financing, everything. So always think about, for example, the deadline date for the abstracts. Then think about how much time do you think the people will need later on to send some late works, and then double that. So what we always did, we had some deadline for the abstracts to be sent. We thought about this deadline, and then the official deadline was even a month earlier, so that we can always have some time for late missions and so on. Because it's better for you to know that you will have all the works sent to you to analyze, to check the value, and maybe give some feedbacks to people who want to participate in your event. Then having it all ready, and then accepting some late work sent to you, and then having to do it again over and over. I think that might be it from my part.
Okay,
Is there
Well-
anything we should mention?
Maybe that's what me and Gosha were experiencing most during the organization of ISSC, is that when you try to invite plenty of scientists to become members of the scientific jury during the conference and to judge the abstracts, remember that there are plenty of people who already have plans for half a year ahead. So when you are trying to invite someone who's actually really busy and just high how to say it, a very important person at the university,
VVIP.
just remember that you have to do it a few months ahead, because there is little chance they're gonna come if you invite them 2 weeks ahead, because there is always at least like 5 to 10 people who are gonna message you a week before, sorry, there is something wrong, I'm not gonna come, my child is sick, I am sick, my car broke, something like that. So, and that's, I hope that's true, actually.
Yeah, that's always have backup plan
Yes.
for everything, with
Mhm.
presentations, with lecturers.
So if there is, for example, a scientific session and you want to have at least 3 jurors for the session, invite 5 people, all right? And have confirmation of at least 4. Because if half of them not come, you still have 2. There, it's not really optimal to have only 2 people judging, for example, 10 presentations, but it's still better than 1, right? Because 1 is just really biased.
Once we had a lecturer who said that he can make it and that he's sick, and the next day we saw him posting the story from Zakopane.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he was sick in the company.
Probably.
I out with the sickness.
One more thing, scientific committee is responsible for writing rules and regulations. Sometimes probably you have like drafts to share. Sometimes you have to.
Yeah, I would say, well, put down everything that you think is required for the session to be scientifically accurate. So clarify what is the subject of the works that you accept, or what you expect from the lecturers. And the truth to be told, if you want something to be done the way you want it, try to force it a little bit on everyone. So if you want to make, and that's true, if, for example, if you want your presentations to look nice, prepare templates for the lecturers, for
Yes.
the presenters, and write that, well, that may not work for the guests and the keynote speakers, but for the participants, basically write down that you will only accept the works formatted in the format you need, and then you will be sending it back. Make it for the abstract, make it for the presentations. That way you make sure that it is exactly the way you want it, and makes your job way easier. For example, with formatting the abstract book in the end.
True. Thank you. Okay, that's a really broad question, but it's really simple actually, because who should you invite regards mostly the VIPs that we're talking about, but maybe not in the by the means of scientific committees and scientific jury. But when we're talking about who shouldn't, right, yeah, it's about the officials of the university, for example, or if you want to, like, if you got the patronage of the president of Gdańsk and it's like a conference that's more about, for example, public health, and you want to invite her or them in the future, please do that ahead of time, of course. And if you want to invite some representatives from the students' organizations, like, for example, the ambassadors of the scientific society, or for example, somebody from the students' council, if they really helped with the organization of the conference, and obviously the I forgot the word once again.
University authorities?
Yes, thank you. Authorities. Sorry?
Repeat one more time. Authorities.
Authorities.
Your name.
Hello. Hi,
Hi.
Hello.
do you have a question? Okay, continue.
Yeah, so that's obviously rector, prorector. And of course, if it's a more conference, for example, dermatology, cardiology, anything else, as I mentioned
Ja
earlier.
chciałam z tobą pobyć, to myślałam się, że to nie
Mhm.
będzie długo trwała ta rozmowa, także spoko. Tak, żebyś zdążył wrócić z pracy.
Darling, yes, thank you.
Sorry.
I'll find her.
What I
Sorry.
would
Yeah.
like to add is that I really love when Professor Sniatacz is welcoming us during
Lovely.
conferences. It's so.
He's charming.
Yeah, it's always well prepared and he's always so kind and I must say it's really it's a well beginning for every conference.
That's very true. And obviously, it's also nice to prepare a written invitation in a nice template that's printed on a good quality paper, delivered to the office, most preferably in person.
Just like we
Yes.
did it. We invited you all in paper.
Yeah,
Also.
I have my framed, obviously. It wasn't like a messenger.
I think I met you on the bus and I just asked you, hi, Nicole, could you join this workshop?
Yeah,
It's,
it was the bus trip when we were calling you as a joke.
Yeah.
Sorry, personal stuff.
I really want to join us.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. Even when I was in the department where I do my PhD, there is actually, I think, signed by you an invitation to one of our scientists there, and she loved the quality paper and that she got this invite personally.
See?
I think to chat some abstracts or maybe.
Yeah, I think so. And the jury also, I think, yeah. Because it's either Dr. Lisowska or
Yeah.
Dr. Yeah. Yeah, she was also a member of the abstract committee and the jury, so.
Quality. You invited me, I didn't get it on the paper.
Sorry, what? I'm sorry, that's not my fault.
No, it's actually, I'm kidding.
We'll resolve that later. Yeah, so remember to have it.
I was like probably 13.
Sorry?
So I was kind of like confused, like what's going on? And that was like the first time.
We cannot hear you
I think,
actually.
guys, you can wait with a question.
Or maybe write them down in the chat and we'll read them out loud. That's gonna be easier, I think. Yeah, just summing it up. Invite everyone who's important ahead of time, because they also have plans, and actually just somewhere right after you set the date with since the first office, it's already a good time to invite everybody because you're also asking for patronages later and asking for financial support or anything like that, and it's kind of not. It would be nice to have the authorities invited by the time you ask for this, because when you demand something from them and they're not invited yet, it's something off, right? Just a simple thing that you can keep in mind when planning it like in time. I think that's it. And obviously the lectures that you're going to invite, same goes for this. That when you invite somebody from the university or anywhere else, do this ahead of time. And maybe regarding the lectures, as we don't have it mentioned anywhere else, I think, it's also worth trying to contact the International Relations Office so it's Dr. Kaczmarek, who has a good contact with a lot of our
Alumni.
Alumni, yes, thank you, who have either been abroad and they're more popular abroad and more recognized, yes, or thank you, or they just are students from abroad who have come back home, and it looks nice when you have somebody from abroad preparing a lecture. Some of our lecturers come every few years for a lecture. For example, there is, I think, Professor Dominiczak, who lives in Scotland, Professor Jareczek Fossa, who lives in Milan, few more. And sometimes it's even easy to ask professor who's directing the clinic under whom you are preparing the conference, if they have any international relations with any other professors of the same specialty, who they can invite some of their friends, for example, who might give a lecture free of charge, or you just have to pay for the plane ticket or anything else. Yeah, so maybe
Yay.
let's move.
So I think that this topic is so broad.
Hello.
And that we could even organize separate workshops. But I will summarize briefly some main aspects of promotion. And Mikołaj, could you?
Yes, ma'am.
So here you can find some pointed out tasks you can plan for your promotion team. First of all, of course, you should create even on Facebook so that you could write down all the information and people could, click I'm going and follow the most important updates. Now it's more popular to also create profile on Instagram. I have no idea why I added TikTok there. I have never used that application,
Well,
but
show me your
I'm
personal
a
number.
boomer.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And I know that it's awful. I know that you guys are using TikTok. So probably, so no, you cannot.
I
Can
heard-
you?
I
Can
heard-
you
I heard
create
your
pro-
voice crack. Who said that?
I don't know if you can create profile for your.
Right, Ryan or Kenny, you can tell so.
Anywhere.
But yeah, I'm gonna focus on what I did. Now it's still popular to have Instagram ambassadors. What is it? It's that you invite some students or doctors who are who have their public profiles and they're active on social media, and you ask them to become an ambassador. So when they agree, you can send them some information they will share on their profiles, and it really works well. What else? You can also send some information about newsletter. You can send there is one newsletter, academic newsletter. It's what's the name of this newsletter? Do you know this? Not now. I'm going to mention it later. Yeah, of course, you can send information. GFM student newsletter, which is my newsletter. But we have a newsletter here at the university as well, and you can also collaborate with other societies.
Gumet promotion section, Gazeta Gumet as well.
I'm going to talk about that. Yes, the next step. If you want university to share information about your conference on their Facebook profile, then you can contact with them directly by email, info@gumet.pl. And the next step.
They also reply on Facebook sometimes.
Mm,
The MEG's promotion section, they also reply on Facebook sometimes. Quite
Sometimes.
Okay. Sometimes.
We're
If
trying.
you want to prepare email which will be sent to every student at the university, you can also prepare this message and send it directly to web admin małpa.edu.pl, they respond like within a few hours. So it's really nice. Remember to prepare information both in Polish and English, so they can send it. Yeah, because we what we notice is that Polish people do not open emails in English.
True.
So I think it's really good to know to prepare it like bilingual.
But for web admin, like there's like a specific format when you send the mail to web admin. So you need to specify from which email it should show that you're sending the mail to, your context that you want to send in, and also which faculties or which division of students you want to target. You need to specify this also.
And dates, probably you have also like highlight dates of the event.
Yes, of course.
Sometimes ask for them.
Maybe it changed, but like 2 years ago, it was quite easy to obtain the access to the mailing when you were like head of the organizing committee or the scientific circle leader. Like for me, it was very easy. I just messaged them, okay, I'm the leader of the scientific circle. Can I get the access to the mailing? And I could send the mailings myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's like very specific.
Never.
Yeah, like, I mean, also in case if like web admin is not working out for you, can always send it to STN. We also have access to mass mailing if you need help with it, you know. Yes, so a few of our board members have access to mailing, and in case if you require such support, it would be really nice if you can just send it to us.
Yeah, what else?
Oh, we also have an STN newsletter. So if you want any specific targeted mailing that you want to send, like your active participation thingy to students who are actively scientifically active, and are members of STN, you can also send a mail to STN, and we can include your details of the conferences in our newsletter, which goes exclusively to the STN members. Yes, so this is.
It's a very exclusive society.
So you should join it.
Yes.
How can you promote your event? I really like organizing contests because it's easier to involve people in sharing information about your conference. If they know that they can win something, it's really easy to collaborate with scraps companies. Or I have this. Or for me, it's really easy. What else? Also, you can. Why are you taking photos?
I remember.
Well, you know, even for one of the most popular medical influencers.
You can always contact me, but I have a separate slide for that. The next slide, please, Nikolai. If you feel it's not for you to collaborate with external companies, then you can also always ask for gadgets from Dr. Gadget. All you have to do is fill in the form and ask for gadgets. You have to.
And then remind them like 4 times that you have asked.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, and
Never struggle with that.
don't ask for too much because they're happy to pay.
Like,
It's just,
like.
how much can I give for free? And that's the question you should ask.
Also at least for the patronages, for the rector of the university, now they have established like a form that you have to fill out by hand, and you give it to the promotions because they've just excluded it completely from the office. They're like, promotions is going to handle the rector's patronages, and in that form you can include that if you need any financial support or if you need any extra, promotional things from the promotions unit. So everything you can include in the
So
form.
it's simpler now, right?
Where, yeah.
In
it's
promotions.
now. Where can you find this form?
Extranet.
It's online.
It's it's there on
So
extranet
it's
under
actually-
patronages of rector's patronage.
Yeah.
There's a form.
It was
for
there
it.
before, but it wasn't handled by the promotion section.
So it's very nice, yeah.
And the last slide. It's once again about Instagram ambassadors.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
so
Is everybody saying clearly?
No, I had to use this opportunity. If you need any help with conducting other students who are active on social media, you can do it throughout me. And I will always help you, and I always publish information about events or conferences on my Instagram profile, and I think it's a right space to share it because, like you said, not to say a lot of, but some students follow me on Instagram, and they
All of us,
I
we
do.
all follow you.
nano influencer.
A few Ks, you know, like a lot of them.
Yeah.
Some doctors too.
It's like, yeah. Once I mentioned on
And some
Instagram.
are forced to sign up for the newsletter.
No, you are not forced to follow me, you know.
You are not.
But I am aware that there are a lot. There are not only students who follow me on Instagram, and there are some conductors as well, and people who work in university. And I remember once I showed that I was changing my clothes on the corridor, then the same day rector knew about that we don't have place to change.
Ah.
Thank you for the lockers. You're the reason we have lockers.
Now you have workers.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So this is how we influence.
There's not lockers. Can
Yeah.
you just do something about it?
No, I'm not intern anymore, so I
I'll
don't
text
care.
you and you just toast it privately.
It's like, hey,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Planning the conference. Well,
sorry.
Sure, next slide.
beware that scheduling might be difficult because remember that the majority of what will happen is out of your control. So the more you try to tighten your grip on, especially on timing, the more it will slip away from your fingers. So my greatest tip that worked for us: plan as many coffee or lunch breaks as you can, and consider one that will be specifically for lunch or coffee, at least for you to relax a little bit and eat and have coffee. Every other coffee break that you plan, be aware that this will be your gaps that you will use when the lectures or presentations basically are prolonged, when the discussion is prolonged, when you have technical issues and it causes some lecture to start 30 minutes earlier or later, or
Technical problems.
yeah, fortunately we never had that, but we had some that I think one of the lecturers actually spoke like 20 minutes more than he should, where discussion was prolonged. Obviously it never happened during the competition sections because I was there with a timer. But
Yeah, it's good to have timer, yeah.
yeah,
Even-
always
Maybe it's rude to have timer for lecturers.
it is rude, but at least show them, remind them that they have only this amount of time, then
Yeah.
time them. For lecturers, maybe make sure that they will see that, and then if they prolong for a little too much, at least for your taste, then think of some nice way of reminding them about that. And for the participants, I think the best way to encourage them to actually make sure that they check the time is we put it in our rules for grading them that if they fail to fit in the time prepared for them, they automatically got 0 on the presentation.
Or that we will
part.
interrupt them.
Yeah, well, not only, will always be, and I would recommend you to be nice and ruthless at the same time. Remind them at least once that they should be finishing. but I think it is fair. I remember when I was in high school and I went to present something at a conference organized by the Polish Scientific Academy. And I felt that it was really unfair that I tried to explain some difficult topic and I practiced a lot to fit it all in like 12 minutes that I had for the presentation. And they awarded a girl who was not only like reading from the book, lots of parts or reading her PowerPoint slides. She actually, instead of like presenting for 12 minutes, was presenting that for 30 something minutes. So she tripled the time that she was allowed to. That is why at least I was preparing the rules for like second, the third, and so on, shameless conferences. So we put it written that basically like presenting longer than they were supposed to, they would get lower score. Because that's also part that you have to know and it's useful. When you have a given time, you need to know how to present your topic during this specific time. If that's maybe not a tip for organizing presentation for corporate, but if you want to present something and if it takes too long, then there's something wrong with, well, even with organizing the conference. If you plan on a lot of activities and the conference goes, it's a daily conference from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m., everyone will fall asleep, die, or leave in the middle. So maybe there's something that you have to simply throw out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now the best for last.
Okay, I can
Uh,
start and
Okay.
add something. So I think one very
Sorry,
mess.
I'm getting flashbacks.
yeah,
Oh, no.
one very important tip that I never stick to is to not to leave anything planned for the last days. The last days should return unplanned and it's not predictable task. But it's very difficult because the closer it gets to the conference, the more you realize you still have to do, and then the last day gets difficult, as you can see on the pictures. Yeah, these are really different conferences.
If I may interrupt you and add, the best thing is during the COVID, well, the nice part was that we didn't have to like make sure physically that something works because it was all online. The downside of it was that we relied very often on the university server and university emails since it always looks more professional. What we didn't expect that even when we scheduled for the reminders with everything and sending the links to the event, we had no idea that the service rates of the university server sometimes get tricky, or sometimes there are some issues with sending those emails. And what happened was that none of the emails we sent to the jury, participants, and lecturers actually got through the server. So I think at 11 p.m. we found out about it and had to like use other mails or means of contacting everyone to make sure that they know how to log in and at what time.
Okay, I think we can.
The last, yeah, just
I thought you were gonna say more about this,
huh?
those, the last day preparing.
They're traumatic,
Yeah,
mostly,
I mean,
and you're never gonna be ready for everything, and there is always something that's gonna.
I didn't put my pictures from Shame with them conference, but it looked the same that we really need. We
Mhm.
really need physical help to prepare welcome bags because you have to prepare like 100 or 150
200.
200 sometimes, and you have to put so many samples or leaflets. It really takes time. Sometimes you have to prepare some
Presentations as
yeah,
well for the.
yeah, of course, presentation, but how is it called? Ścianka.
Like roll out.
Yeah,
Just prepare everything.
the photo booth, let's say, sort of.
So you make sure that in the morning everything is prepared.
You have to double check for the like technical support, like microphones,
Yeah, yeah.
laptops, internet access.
Yeah.
Like that. And if you have all of the like diplomas, badges, just double check everything, because the worst thing is to realize in the morning on the conference day that you still lack something and you have to look for a place to
And it's often weekends when you organize a conference, right? So be aware of the fact that if you lack something, there is no way to print it sometimes, because some printing companies work only during the weekdays. And if you're, for example, closing on a Saturday afternoon, for example, and you just realize that you're lacking half of the diplomas, or for example, the first place diplomas or anything else, an hour before the closing ceremony, there is the laptop's gonna
Yep.
lose
Flag.
battery.
We need
Bateria.
better-
Yeah, so there is, for example, an hour before the end of the conference and they closed 2 hours ago. That's one thing. Of course, the prizes, divide the prizes ahead of time and just settle down how many prized winners will be in each scientific session, because, for example, if you have to buy books for the winners, you have to do this ahead of time, and you won't do this on the day of the conference or anytime soon. So, for example, we were once short of a few prizes short, I think, and the only thing that saved us was the fact that the conference was online, and it was a hybrid form. So some members were online, and those people received their prizes later. So we had time to buy them, and if it wasn't for that, I don't think we would have managed, to be honest. Yeah, that's an example of how planning the conference works. You just move stuff around in the middle.
And once you change something or prepare before the conference, be aware that some of the guests may be arriving and may see everything or hear everything. And maybe to make a joke out of it, I remember when we were preparing the first Shameless, I was still in the middle of my coffee. And that was the time like I arrived like at 2 a.m. at the airport, and I had to be here like at 7:30 or something like that. And I remember preparing everything, and obviously I think the projector was not turning on, or there was some issue with connecting the laptops and stuff like that.
I think the chargers.
And I tried, it worked, then it failed, then I was up there like managing it, and I was so tempted to curse. And I remember that I was like in the middle of it, like, you know, like looking at the laptop and the cables and connecting all that. And I was like just opening my mouth to curse. And at this moment, I heard like, congratulations on the organization of the conference. And I basically look up and I saw rector of the university with his hand pointed at me. And I was like, okay, thank you. And in my thoughts, I was like, oh fucking God. Then, so I can do it now.
I think that the most important thing is that you should be flexible, because there are a lot of things which can not work, and you have to not be stressed, but start to think what you can do and how to fix it. And this is why you should work in team, so that you can figure it out how to do it. Like now, girls are figuring out how to give.
We're out of time, actually. I'll switch the laptop.
I think probably we will just
Yeah.
finish. Yeah, I think we are almost done. Yeah. Yeah. So the last thing is about after party. Mikołaj's. Why are you analyzing ECG?
Sorry. A quick consult.
It's really nice if you have fundings for after party, and it's also especially if you organize conference which is international or national, and there are a lot of people from all over the Poland, so you can like hang out together and discuss and talk. Next slide. Yeah, so it's even if you don't have money, you can you can reserve, make a reservation and just go there and just inform in advance and inform everyone, because I remember that I was sad that only scientific committee from STN was invited to the after party once. But
Sorry?
Yeah, like inform people like in advance. Once again, I said something wrong about STM, but
No, it's about
Yeah.
I really like
We
you guys.
will discuss this later.
Okay,
You won't see Dr. Antoszewska soon
and the next one from Gosia.
from us.
Oh,
I'm sleeping right there on the floor. Yeah, that's me.
It's really tiring, exhausting, I would say.
Plot twist, it was actually a workshop which was delivered online, and some people were there, and we stayed as the last few people after every participant just
I thought those pictures were confidential, but.
They were.
until today. Yeah, just regarding the after party, one thing, when you are planning the after party, just make sure you match the type of party with people who invite. If you want to invite some international guests and lecturers,
Go
just
back with the slide.
make sure it's not the pub where everybody of them.
Thank you.
Make sure it's not the like pub where you invite your friends and from the committee and just have a beer and they just sit there and do nothing. If you, for example, want to find some entertainment for the guests that you invite to the conference and then to the party, just make sure you have the space and time to entertain them there, and they will enjoy the event as well. And if you just want to have it for the participants, just maybe make the information public but not official, let's say, and just have your participants come to a party of sorts that you're gonna invite. And if you want an official dinner like dermatologists,
No, sorry, that was not dermatologist.
oh,
That was international conference in Lisbon. But they
So,
had a lot of money.
did you organize the conference?
Oh, I was a participant. Yeah, yeah, and the last slide is that remember that organizing conference is all about people and people who you collaborate with. It's a great opportunity to collaborate with some professors, doctors, and to meet new friends. And I think this is the most important part.
There's some IFMSA propaganda right there. I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's fun actually later on
In the middle was my picture when I was awarded.
at Warsaw with the
Yeah.
professor somebody prize. Yeah.
And now it's your turn and join scientific teams and organize.
Beep beep.
Yeah.
Save the date. Questions.
Yeah, thank you.
I think there's a question there.
Yeah, check the battery level and if we have still some.
I can see it here. About sponsorships.
We.
How can we estimate the amount of money that we're asking for? Well, who wants to answer this question? Maybe.
It depends. I can tell you, probably I shouldn't, but I can tell you how much it costs to have technical support. It's sometimes like from 1,000 to 3,000 zlotys. So it's like it's what you need to have, so this is what you can request. Coffee break is if you do not have barter, then probably 1,000 as well. To
A few for example,
yes.
2 days.
Of course, it depends on the people. And if you are planning a lunch break, then it also costs a lot. Shameless, which I organized, was like 3 years ago. You know, prices are even growing.
Yeah.
So it may differ, but it's like you can ask for 500 zlotys up to
A few thousand.
thousands. Yeah.
Depends on the organization that gives you money, and they can, for example, some want to pay for a specific thing,
Yeah.
and some want to give you a certain amount of money. So it can, as Magda said, range from a few hundred to a few thousand. Some or achieve like 10,000, but that's like stuff from legends, to be honest. And most often it's easier to just evaluate as well that the company were paid for a certain thing, so that you can give them also an invoice. They will just add it to their expenses, and it's simpler. So for example, the whole catering business will be paid by one company, for example. Or for example, the prize is the books, or I don't know if you have like a certain type of first place prizes like stethoscopes or certain books, which cost a few hundred zlotys each. You can just sum this up and they will pay for the first place prizes, for example.
Yeah.
And there's
But I
a,
think it's really easy to get books for free, so you won't.
but you most often get books that are older and less bought,
No.
but depends.
It depends,
may
but,
happen, it happens
it-
with some companies.
It
And
depends who you collaborate, guys.
when you'll write your book, we'll ask for free.
Here's
Some
another
books.
question. maybe.
Yes, it's a second part of the question. How to estimate if I can ask a company for a few hundreds or a few thousands, where to check if company is big enough? Well, that's a different kind of question. That's maybe
Maybe it's good to meet these representatives and just discuss it. Yeah, if you don't know, just
that's
meet.
one solution.
Yeah.
Always-
The other one is if you have the booklet that you are sending to the companies, you also can add like specific price points at which they can support you. For example, a 1,000 zlotys, and then we add the logo and do something, 2,000 zlotys, and that's for example, we add the logo and a specific thank you at the beginning and the end of the conference. Just some, it's really up to you what you add at different price points as a thank you or the compensation for the money that they give you. And the representative from the specific organization will choose how much money they want to give you for which kind of price point, for which kind of compensation. And sometimes they will just tell you that okay, this is really not what we're looking for, but we can give you this amount of money for this and this. So it sometimes comes out naturally. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
It was so clear.
Thank you.
Sure.
But I have something, if there aren't any questions on the Zoom, I think we can just,
Stop recording.
yes, and of course, like